Apparently it may not have been in the executive order, but it's the directive from the White House that on a case-by-case basis, the border control agents do that. So it's not just their discretion. They're getting encouraged by the White House to do that. Let me ask you about this question of a Muslim ban. The president said it's not one. The president also said Christians will be prioritized. In putting out this executive order, did you check with the other Muslim countries the United States is allied with to anticipate the backlash you would get from this?
Well, but hang on a second. The order also says persecuted Muslims have priority as well. So, I mean, that's a piece that's just getting totally either, however you want to call it, misreported or not fully reported. It doesn't just say Christians. It also says persecuted Muslims get priority as well. So this is not a Muslim ban, John. All this is identifying the 7 countries, and the reason we chose those 7 countries was those were the 7 countries that both the Congress and the Obama administration identified as being the 7 countries that were most identifiable with dangerous terrorism taking place in their country. Now, you can point to other countries that have similar problems, like Pakistan and others. Perhaps we need to take it further, but for now, immediate steps, pulling the Band-Aid off, is to do further vetting for people traveling in and out of those countries.
Let me ask you
about this is an 80% issue, John.
Yeah. Well, let me just to get, when President Trump was interviewed by the Christian Broadcasting Network, the question was asked, do you see Christians as having a kind of priority here? The president said yes. So people aren't crazy to think that he's put a priority on Christians. But back to my central question. Did you touch base with the Secretary of State, any of the embassies in countries that would be affected or that would react to this, or to the ambassadors of those countries? Any outreach?
Listen, there was plenty of outreach that went on between the State Department and the Department of Homeland Security. We didn't just type this thing up in an office in the White House and sign it. There's been weeks of work going on. There's been a lot of communication happening. But the other thing is this. We're not going to advertise to the world that we're going to put a stop or at least a further vetting on travel in and out of our country from these 7 places. Some people have suggested, John, that, well, maybe we should have given everyone a 3-day warning. Well, that would just mean that a terrorist would just move up their travel plans by 3 days. Well, identifying too many people in these countries and giving them a heads up in these countries would only potentially flag the executive order for bad people.
I understand. I guess what I haven't heard you say is, yes, we reached out and let them know. But because here's why I asked. Secretary of Defense James Mattis, when asked about the Muslim ban that candidate Donald Trump talked about, here's what the Secretary of Defense said back then. He said, they think we've completely lost it. This kind of thing is causing us great damage right now, and it's sending shockwaves through this international system. Now, that was about something Donald Trump said in the campaign, but it touches on the reaction that has been to this executive order. That's the world that is out there now. And I just wonder, as we see a new president in action here, what efforts has he or anybody else in the administration taken in specific to deal with what is now being called a Muslim ban overseas? That's just the reality of the way things are. What anticipatory action was taken, or what action is being taken now?
Well, I mean, today, for example, the president has a call with leadership in Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and other countries around the world, and I'm sure this topic may come up. But the truth is, though, John, we have to protect Americans first. These are countries that harbor and train terrorists. These are countries that we want to know who's coming and going in and out of to prevent calamities from happening in this country. We are not willing to be wrong on this subject. President Trump is not willing to take chances on this subject. He was elected president in many respects because people knew that he was going to be tough on immigration from countries that harbor terrorists. And I can't imagine too many people out there watching this right now think it's unreasonable to ask a few more questions from someone traveling in and out of Libya and Yemen before being let loose in the United States. And that's all this is.
Let's move on to Russia. I guess the question is, it doesn't seem like the administration did anything to kind of soften the blow of something it believes strongly in. Let's ask about
There's no reason to
here.
soften the blow. You need to pull the Band-Aid off, John, and start the process of protecting this country from another San Bernardino, which, by the way, was a person that did have a valid K-1 visa, which was a spousal visa, came into the country, and then ended up committing a horrific crime in Southern California.
And the husband was a U.S. citizen, right?
I would think, but she was on a K-1 visa, on a spousal visa. But again,
from which country?
That goes to your first question.
From one of the 7 countries?
Listen, well, then maybe you're right. Maybe we can expand the countries.
So you want
but
to
the point
expand
is,
the countries? Will that be coming?
Just like the 2 people in Kentucky that were planning an attack in Kentucky, and the President Obama suspended that program for 6 months.
In 2011.
In 2011. The point is, though, valid visas are great, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be subjected to further questioning.
Sure.
That's all I'm saying.